The mailman doesn't deliver on a Sunday.
If you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball.
Anthony for three. Bang! J.R. Smith! We just saw men fly. LeBron James with no regard for human life.
Cleveland! This is for you!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Coast to Coast. I am Ronan Gaine. Joining me, as always, Chris Nambu. Thank you so much for making this your first listen for NBA coverage. Remember, if you like what you're hearing, you're on YouTube, give us a follow, subscribe, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of the podcast. You're on Spotify, give us a 5-star review, follow us. You'll keep getting all our content, and we will keep producing it and having fun. Chris, we got a fun podcast today. Obviously, season's coming up. We're going to be giving our predictions for the season awards. We're going to be talking about some of the top 5 offenses and defenses in the league. Got a few tidbits to get into before that, but before we get into it, of course, have to ask, how you doing, man?
You have to ask. It's just you have to. Yeah. I'm great. It's cloudy, it's rainy, anything to do but talk about some basketball, talk about our top 5 offenses, top 5 defenses. I'm pretty happy with that. And you know what? I'm pretty good. The Bulls don't look terrible. You know, I'm not thinking about the Bears right now. I'm not thinking about Justin Fields, not thinking about the draft coming up. You know, that's kind of out of my mind. Basketball is coming at the perfect time for a Bears fan. So any of my Chicago people out there, I think we know that the Bulls will not let us down and they'll pull us right through this winter season. I'm excited for that. But
yeah, I'm in a similar boat with my New York teams. I think not quite as bad with the Jets, but I still need the Knicks to be the shining light for me, but obviously we still have those question marks for that. But before we get into the predictions and the top 5 offenses and defenses and that, let's just talk about a few headlines from around the league. One of the biggest ones that came out this week, Terry Stotts has resigned as a Bucks assistant. He's only coming back after 2 years since he left to Portland Trailblazers. And now he's left that role before the season's even begun. And apparently it all started with a bit of a bust up in front of the team with Adrian Griffin. What do you think of that? I feel like there's a bit more to tell about this story.
yeah, I'm curious about that. I haven't been able to read further into that. So was there news about him and Griffin? Because it seemed to me that there was like no explanation. But if there's rumors about him and Griffin, that would be less of an entertaining reason than him just trying to get away from Dame.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the line you want to put on it. He just hates Dame now. I think that was the first word on the street when it first came out. But then I think Shams tweeted out that apparently there was a pretty big bust up between Griffin and Stotts in front of all the players there. I think last week. So I think that's where it actually stemmed from, which is obviously a pretty big deal, because obviously it was a big deal for him to come back after being 2 years out. And then to give that up before the season's even started, I think that has to be a pretty big bust up, or maybe there was some underlying issues before that bust up, and that was bringing it all to a head there.
Huh. Yeah, reading the quote here. Stotts attempted to start a conversation with Lillard and Giannis. Griffin called to Stotts to join the coaching huddle. Stotts asked for more time, and Griffin yelled for Stotts to join the coach's huddle. That's interesting. You kind of wonder too that there's got to be. I think everyone was thinking this, because I feel like this has happened so often where a coach is brought in who is familiar with the star player, and then all the pressure is on the head coach to make a successful season out of a brand new lineup with stars. And if it doesn't work out, that's the first person to lose their job, because then it's like, oh, well, all right, easy replacement. We don't have to look too far. Our replacement's right here on our team. Mm-hmm. And that's got to be an underlying tension that can't be understated, because having a head coaching position in this league is such a tenuous position to be in. And I really wonder if there is some underlying pressure there. But of course, it's a complicated relationship. You're a head coach for so long. I'm sure Stotts isn't used to being an assistant either.
Yeah. I think there could have been both sides of the coin there. I think that's an interesting thought on your part. After they get the trade for Dame, maybe that little chip is on Adrian Griffin's shoulder. Wants to make sure that Terry Stotts knows his place in the pecking order and that. And I guess Stotts obviously maybe didn't like having to be the one that wasn't in charge. So yeah, I think that's an interesting theory on that situation. But there's probably more to come there. What about Andre Iguodala finally calling it a day? one of the more underrated players of a generation, and obviously a key role player on probably the best team of our generation anyway.
And the one player we would choose to save us against the aliens to take a shot, right? The one
Absolutely.
shot.
Absolutely.
That will be the one, that'll be the one quote associated with him for the longest time. Freaking Max Kellerman. I really appreciate Andre Iguodala's brand of player because you don't see it very often. You don't see very often an amazing player, maybe not a superstar, but a star player, recognize his role to be a contributor to an all-time great team. And he sacrificed that. He could have gone to another team and still been a borderline all-star, right? Maybe made an all-star game a couple more times, but he used some more productive years at the end of his career to make, I mean, he was a big reason why the Warriors were what they were. I mean, he really did contribute to what they did in a big way. Maybe they're not, maybe they don't win all those championships. Maybe they win one or two less. I mean, because his defense, his playmaking, the way that he really synergized with that team, I think you could argue that, I mean, there's a reason why he won Finals MVP. Like, this guy is one of the greatest, I think, like, when you say team player, like a guy who sacrifices, he's one of the greatest to do it in the last decade.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you think about like the career that he had, obviously an underrated player, but like he's a guy that had like he played more playoff games than a whole host of legends like Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Larry Bird, Wilt, Jason Kidd. Like he's played more playoff games than all those guys. He won a Finals MVP. He made an All-Star team. He made a couple of all defensive teams during his career. I think that like even though he wasn't that superstar, even though he wasn't that dead cert, I think he's a guy that we're going to see in the Hall of Fame. What do you think?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, well, especially what he did with the Warriors. You know, that his brief stint of stardom with the 76ers. I think that's, he's not a first ballot, but I think he's definitely going to be in there. We'll get his recognition there.
Yeah, for sure. The Finals MVP definitely, definitely helps his case. Then what about the word from Adam Silver this week? He was on First Take talking with Stephen A. Mentioned that they're considering going back to the East-West format in the All-Star game, and I like that idea. I think that'd be a smart move. Don't get me wrong. I think that All-Star game or even All-Star weekend as a whole is a bit of a dud, and especially last year was really poor. So I think they're gonna have to shake things up, and I think a switch like that is a small change, but even to get it going like that, even for a couple of years, I think that'll kind of maybe spice things up a little bit.
Yeah, I think that we've seen the East-West narrative go down a little bit because the All-Star game, and also, you know, I think Kobe was such a big part of Kobe, obviously the Spurs, Dirk, and like that, all the great teams in the West are a big part of why the West is just always considered big brother, East's little brother, and LeBron had a big part of like changing that, but that East-West narrative I think has gone away, especially since we've had a new format to the All-Star game, because it's really, I think it's a great exhibition to compare the two conferences, and really that's one way to kind of say, all right, where's all the talent hanging out, not just in the off season where we take a look, but really in game. So I love that they're bringing that back. I'd love to see them put some more incentives to it, though. It seems like that's not going to happen. I mean, we do have the in-season tournament. I'm really curious where that's going to go, but I'm pretty pumped to see the East-West again.
Yeah, no, obviously it was always a thing, and you remember back playing the NBA games back in the day, and I was even like I was loving seeing the West and East jerseys. Like even that little side of things was always fun. And then final little headline: a Grizzlies source has come out and said that Ja Morant's father.
Oh, stop.
Behind the troubles.
No.
No,
I
don't
don't
like
want,
it.
no way. I hate that. Like, what is that? What source? What is he even saying? I read like 1 minute into it, and I'm like, it's hearsay. It's like someone's opinion piece about someone's like father or whatever. And I think that the situation with Ja is too personal for the public to understand. Like, I don't think we'll ever understand it because we don't know their situation. And obviously you hope he doesn't get into that sort of behavior again. But I don't know, man. I don't like when the media gets into talking about the dads. Well, LeVar Ball, I mean, he put himself out there and he talked to the media. He said exactly what he wanted to say, and he was half right about what he said. But no,
Well,
man.
all he does is just say that his sons are the greatest people
Yeah.
of all time. So that's not anything too serious. You just say that he's an idiot and move on. Like, so it's cool. But yeah, okay, we'll leave out. We'll jump off of that. We won't get into that too much. Let's get into the real stuff. Let's get into our season predictions, and let's start with a segment you wanted to look at: the top 5 offenses and defenses in the NBA this year. Let's start. We'll start on the offensive end. Give me your top 5 offenses for this year.
So I want to start off with a couple. We're just looking at who was there last year. So real quick, you look at the top 5 and you see a name that I think we forget real quick. I don't think you forget because you were watching, because the New York Knicks, everyone remember, it's the 5th best offense in basketball. The 5th best offense. And looking at the beginning of last year, I don't think anyone's going to predict that, even though you have Jalen Brunson, even though maybe you get a bounce back year from Randall. I don't think even you or any Knicks fans are expecting a top 5 offense out of a Thibodeau-led New York Knicks team with barely any spacing and any of that. But they did it. They pulled it off. So I think starting from the bottom, who's going to stick in this list? Do you think the Knicks are going to be there again this year?
You know, obviously, I really want to say yes, and they're definitely going to match and maybe even improve on what they did last year. But I am very hesitant to make any predictions on the Knicks because of what we have seen in the past. Can they really do it in back-to-back years? Is there going to be another kind of burnout sort of element like we saw 2 years ago after the great year with Randall and everything like that? So I would be more likely to say no, that they're going to drop off just a little bit. But hopefully that burnout doesn't come again, and the energy provided by Brunson, maybe we'll see RJ Barrett step up a little bit more like we saw in the playoffs. Randall can hopefully sustain. Then the answer is yes, they can absolutely stay in there. But for now, I'm going to say I think they'll drop out.
I was trying to think about it, because when you look at their stats, like they're 10th in 3-point attempt rate, they're 24th in 3-point percentage. That they're the only team I want to say in the last 5 years that have touched the top 5 and not been a top 10 3-point shooting team.
Mm-hmm.
They're dead last in assisted field goals, but that also speaks to them having some really excellent isolation players in Brunson and Randall. But they're also 23rd in fast break points, one of the last teams in pace. This is just not a modern offense. This is not an efficient offense. They're bottom 10 and shooting efficiency. I mean, they do get to the line 3rd most in the league, so that does help them out. Randall really getting in there, Brunson really being able to get fouls. And all that to say, those are pretty ugly stats for a top 5 team. But I think that tells you that that's going to continue, honestly. That I don't see them dropping off, because their offense is so – it's not fluky how janky it is, because they're going to continue doing what they do. And I actually think, they have some solid depth to miss some games from Brunson. If Brunson misses games, we've seen what Quentin Grimes does, or not Quentin Grimes, sorry, with Emmanuel Quickley does when you give him the ball more. So that guy there alone is going to give you, a buoy. And then Randall, he's been healthy. I think he's proven that he can stay healthy for at least 60, 70 games. I think he should have a solid year again this year. I don't think they're going to drop out too far, but top 5, there's a reason why I'm going to put them out. And I think I got to say that either it's going to be the Mavs or Pacers. So I want you to help me build this list, because right now I think the top 3 are easy. We can talk about why they're going to be excited, but number 1 is Celtics.
Yeah.
We can get into it in a second. Number 2 is Nuggets. Number 3 is Kings. I don't think they're really going anywhere.
Yeah.
I think Warriors are back in the top 5. And I think the question is about the Mavs, the Pacers, or the Knicks. And the reason I'm leaving the 76ers out is because this Harden situation is tough. Yeah. Yep. And to make it very specific, in 24 games without Harden, they're the 9th ranked team in offensive rating. And they just lost Shake Milton, who cares about Shake? Well, who else is playmaking here if Harden's not playing? You don't have a lot of playmaking out there. Now they don't have Shake Milton. Now you're like Kelly Oubre to do some stuff out there. But I really think the Knicks aren't going to go too far. But where are you kind of putting them in the mix? If you have the Mavs, Pacers, Knicks,
My top three. I had the Nuggets, Celtics, Kings, just like you.
Yep,
Then I
easy.
actually had filling out the five. I had the Hawks and the Mavs.
Mm,
I think the Hawks were. I think
okay.
were they seventh or eighth last year. They were close to the top five, and I think with a bit more time with the new head coach, I think you could see them pushing to be a really top level offense. I think, yeah. And I think the Mavs have no choice but to be a top level offense. I think like that their whole
Yep.
team is built on offense. They have to be a top five offense, and I think that's why they'll push to get to that level. And I think we're going to see a nice little push from the Hawks this year. And just in terms of what those teams can offer, the Knicks might be still around there, but in terms of what those teams can offer in terms of efficiency and pace in certain situations, I think that there's more of a chance of them being in there than the Knicks. But I think the Warriors are a good shout. You can never discount them.
Yeah, I think that it's like what you're betting on, right? So with the Hawks, that's interesting because you're not betting on a lot. Really, the only thing you're betting on is that Trae Young is going to get back to shooting well. And that ultimately comes down to Trae Young shooting more off ball, which he's talked about, which he's shown a little bit preseason. And just having more continuity in that system. So that's not a lot to bet on. And I was really thinking about the Hawks. I guess I just can't get excited about them right now. And that's something that'll change as we see more games for them. That's probably just bias of not seeing enough of Trae right now, seeing enough of Murray, seeing enough of what they do there. But so let's put it this way. I agree with the Mavs because Kyrie and Luka, just give them more time, and those are two of the greatest offensive creators this game has had. And Warriors, I think I've talked about this ad nauseum. I really do believe that Chris Paul's addition there and the element he brings, and the way he also has shown that he can fit into the team, that's the Warriors are going to be right up there. So between
there's our battle. The Warriors, the Warriors versus the Hawks are the top five.
Yeah, I'm more confident in the Warriors, to be honest.
Obviously, yeah, of course.
More confident in the Warriors, but the bottom three are really interesting though, because I do think the Knicks are going to stick around. I don't think they're changing, and you add some more Quentin Grimes in there. I think really just seeing like even he's been getting the end of last season, just in the preseason now, just his quick trigger 3-point shooting. If he can really just get more volume shooting the ball, like the Knicks, if the Knicks go from like one of the worst 3-point shooting teams to like a average,
yeah,
guys, again, that does a lot. I'm surprised you're not as high in your Pacers though, because they last year, I really want to get excited on them because like they're first in fast break points, really fast team. They're a great passing team, one of the best in basketball because of Halliburton, because of everyone there, how they really move the ball in that system. The third assist to field goal made ratio, and they flirt with top 5 in 3-point shooting. They're right there. If you see Ben Mathurin get better, you see the fast break offense still be exciting. You got Bruce Brown and Obi Toppin there now running the second unit. They're going to be really fun in the fast break there. I mean, that's a team that could be up here as well. If they're a team that you're excited about and you keep talking about like pushing into a playoff picture, like this is where it starts, as being one of the best offensive teams in basketball. So yeah, I'm curious if they're going to be, competing with the Mavs and Warriors there also. But the bottom is tough.
You'd have to think. I think you'd have to think that they will be. I think that's where you have the most reliability on them really improving this year, is on the offensive end and what they can offer when you've got a point like Halliburton, when you've got a guy like Mathurin going into his year 2 that should be improving scoring wise, when you got those lob threats like Turner and Top, and they're going to play a fast, fun style of basketball. So I think they'll definitely be in the conversation as we go through the season. Maybe they'll be more likely to kind of fall into little ruts in certain situations. So maybe they'll only be hovering around the top 5, and maybe they're at certain points during the year. But I think they're definitely in a top 7, top 8 conversation for the season.
Yeah. All right, we got to be firm. So let's say this. So Celtics, let's talk about the top 2 before we finish off the bottom. The Celtics are number 1, or you said Nuggets?
I got Nuggets at number 1.
Okay. That one I will take some issue with. I think the Celtics are hands down going to be the best offense in basketball, and it purely comes down to 3-point shooting. Like they're second the Warriors in 3-point rate, and they just added Porzingis, and they just added Drew Holiday. obviously Williams was a non-shooter. Porzingis is a great shooter. I mean, just looking at the pick and pop he does in this system with the spacing they have is absurd. And Drew Holiday to replace Marcus Smart on the perimeter, that's 38% 3-point shooter. That's a guy who's going to be a great catch and shoot guy for them on the perimeter when Marcus Smart was not that. And not only that, Drew Holiday, I don't think he gets enough credit for his pick and roll attack. A lot of people are saying, well, they need a little bit more true playmaker. And it's really like, where do you find a guy who's just like dishing? Like that's not really something you see in this league anymore. But he, as a pick and roll playmaker, he scored 1 point per possession on 7.2 possessions per game. That's pretty high yield. And if you look at the reference there, like Luka, Brunson, and Fox, they're scoring just above 1 point per game. He's one of the better pick and roll orchestrators in this league. And you just added him to a team that really needed a bit more on that end. So like two guys there that are going to add to an offense that was already unbelievable. I mean, I think the Nuggets are still going to be great. And I think they're going to be number 2 instead of 5 last year because MPJ, Murray, they kind of had a slow start, getting back into the flow of things. But I don't think that. I think the Celtics are going to be by far one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. I think they'll do it on both ends of offense. But yeah, I'll give you that. I'll let them slip into the number 1 slot. I have no problem there.
Yeah. Let's discuss the Kings real quick because I think 1-2 Celtics Nuggets and Kings. We both kind of feel the same about this. Do we just feel like I mean, last year they had posted the best offensive rating in history, 119.4. In mid-March, they were averaging about 121 points per game, one of the best ever. And, they were toe-to-toe with the Warriors. I mean, they were right there. They're really showing that on the greatest stage, they're one of the best offensive teams in basketball. They were the best offensive team in basketball last year. So what's changing for them this year? Not much. So, like, what?
Yeah, no, there's not much that's going to change. I think they're still going to be there. I just think other teams have gotten better. Mm-hmm. Whereas they have stayed the same, they're still going to be up there. They're still going to be one of the best offenses. I think they're going to have a really good shot at still having a high seed in the Western Conference. But I just think with the moves that the Celtics have made, they're above them. I think with the way the Nuggets can play, and if they do it from the start, and Jamal Murray has this all-star year, we're expecting MPJ is more efficient for the year. That really changes things for Denver. It won't be any big margins that they drop off by. I think that the Kings could still be in a similar sort of level. Like they could be like a 116.8 or 117. Like it won't be too massive a drop off. They're still going to be a top level offense. I just think that the Celtics and Nuggets on paper are just that little bit better.
Yeah, I agree. I think also you get a little bit of like a demerit for being super healthy.
Yeah.
They were the healthiest team in basketball last year by a mile. If you look it up, their lineup played 900 minutes, and you look at the next two highest minutes for a starting lineup, it's 600. Like they have 300 more minutes than the next two healthiest lineups, and that's not luck. That's preparation. That's team health management. That's all those sorts of things. But they definitely missed the health bug, and hopefully they don't go through that this year. But that definitely helps to be healthy. So I think our top 3 is easy. Our 4 and 5 seems we're undecided.
Throw the Mavs in at 4, will we? We'll throw the Mavs in at 4.
I think the Mavs. I feel more confident. If I really have to bet on someone here, I'm betting on Kyrie and Luka to put out a top 5 offense. And I think the Warriors. My only thing with the Warriors, I'm really confident in Chris Paul. Am I confident in Klay Thompson? Mm-hmm. So am I betting
playing for a contract, right?
Contract Klay, maybe. So are we betting on Klay Thompson not playing? Klay Thompson would have to play really, really poorly for them to not be there, versus Trae Young needs to get back to playing as an all-NBA shooter to be here. So which one am I less confident about?
Yeah, let's take it easy. We'll go with the Warriors, won't we?
Yeah, I'm thinking Celtics, Nuggets, Kings, Mavs, Warriors. Makes the most sense to me. But it's close. It
is close. There's going to be a few other teams that are going to be hovering around that realm. I think, like you said, the 76ers who were there last year, I think would drop off a significant amount. But I think there's going to be that the Warriors, the Hawks, the Pacers, the Knicks, and maybe even a couple of other teams that could end up floating in there. But I think, yeah, I think that's a fair list. We've gone a bit safe, especially with that last pick. But I think we're pretty close on that.
Yeah. Maybe we won't stay too safe with the defensive picks. So I got a good one here. Let's hear yours. Where are you at with top 5 defenses? Last year we had the Cavs at 1, Celtics at 2, Grizzlies, Bucks, and it always surprises me to see this. I'm surprised to see your Knicks there at 5 for offense, and I'm still really befuddled at my Bulls at 5.
Yeah,
and defense.
That won't happen again this year.
And let me explain that real quick. It's literally Alex Caruso.
Yeah,
It's Alex Caruso. The Bulls are tied with the Hornets, the 20th best defense in basketball without Alex Caruso. That's all it takes. But let's hear your list. Where are we at?
I think the Cavs will be the same. I think they'll be the best defense in basketball once again. I think I have the Grizzlies in it too. I think they're gonna probably have to rely, especially early in the early part of the year without Ja Morant. I think they're gonna rely on their defense that bit more. That's what their success is built on. So I have them going at number 2. Got the Celtics at 3. I think they're still going to be a really good offense. They're going to be a great two-way team. Then I have a couple of interesting ones filling it out. I got the T-Wolves making the jump up. They were top 10 last year. You'd forget. I'm thinking we're going to see Gobert get closer to the defensive player of the year kind of guy that they were hoping that they were getting. Going to see improvement from Edwards and McDaniels, and I think they need to make a jump this year, and I think it's going to happen being built off the defensive side of the ball. And I'm going to go for the Lakers as well. I'm going to rely on Anthony Davis being healthy.
Okay.
And they're going to build their defense around that. They were great defensively in the playoffs, and hopefully they're going to build on that this year.
Okay. Who was there any honorable mentions on that list? Because I'm curious how close you were to another team I was thinking.
I mean, like there's obviously the teams that were in and around it last year. I mean, you even think of you want to say, like, you look at the Knicks and you think they could be better. You look at the Clippers, think they got like two of the best two-way players in basketball, and Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Like they could get up to some sort of level, but yeah, are they going to play? Like they're kind of ones that I was definitely considering. And obviously maybe I'm shooting a bit high on the T-Wolves, but I was surprised to even see they were top 10. I think they were still at that level when there was such struggle there last year, and there's definitely room to improve with them.
I thought about the Timberwolves. I thought long and hard about the Timberwolves. I really did, and I can't get there with Cat, man. I really can't. I can't get there with Cat on the floor with Gobert, and I think that Gobert's problem was being on the floor with Cat. If you just look at his defense suffered with Cat on the floor, and
I played like 5 games last year.
Well, when you saw him on the floor together, and I think that he's gonna be, if he's gonna consistently be on the floor with him, that perimeter defense is gonna suffer.
Unless that true.
I think that's true. Well, I'll give you that, because we need to have more time with them. We need to see them more on the floor. I had the same things pretty much. I had Grizzlies number 1 though, and I was a little bit, so Cavs. I don't think Cavs are going to change much. Strus is not a negative defender. No one can say that his addition is going to subtract anything. And the thing is with the Cavs, I think that Mobley is going to get even better. I mean, Mobley's a guy that's going to continue to improve. And the one thing with the Grizzlies, though, it's simple. Like, you got 2 defensive players of the year in your squad. You got Marcus Smart, Jaren Jackson Jr., and facing those 2 guys
that's fair.
is just going to be a nightmare. And no matter what, I mean, you lose Dylan Brooks, and then you lose D'Anthony Melton the year before, and you kind of wonder, okay, when is their defense going to start to slide? But they constantly scout guys who are going to be able to fill in and play their role defensively, and I think they've done it so much that I don't have any doubt that they'll continue to do it. But surrounding those 2 defensive superstars, like that's going to be a scary defense face.
No, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Celtics, and just a minor step back. You lose Brogdon, Smart, and Williams, and then you get back Drew and Porzingis. I don't know how much time you're necessarily going to be throwing Pritchard out there, but maybe some negative minutes there, here and there throughout the season. But they're still top 3. I'm going to keep my Bulls there, though. I'm going to keep my Bulls there. I'm keeping them because of Alex Caruso. I mean, that's what it is. It's the same thing with the Knicks. It's like, all right, how are they this good offensively? All right, it's kind of ugly that they're relying on so much ISO. But it's kind of ugly the Bulls are relying on so much Caruso, but they make it work. And I think Ayo Dosunmu, when he's in the lineup, he adds a lot of defense. You got Javon Carter and Torrey Craig in there, rotation guys who are going to be really big plus defenders. And and another year of Patrick Williams. Maybe this is the year. Maybe this is the year.
I love how you give me all this shit about RJ Barrett. You're right there with Patrick Williams, man.
Hey, at least Patrick Williams can shoot. I don't know if that's ever gonna happen for RJ. But prepare yourself though. Like, are you sitting? I think you're sitting, right? Stay seated. I think the fifth best basketball team in basketball defensively is gonna be the Brooklyn Nets.
Okay.
The Brooklyn Nets.
Well, yeah, I get where you're coming from there, yeah.
Cam and McHale were that's why the Suns had a top 5 defense. I mean, they're the two best, one of the best wing duos in terms of defense, two-way players down in Phoenix. Dorian Finney-Smith, I mean, he's like, you removed him from the Mavs, and he was basically one of the only reasons that they were a top 10 defense. Royce O'Neal, that's a guy who was pivotal to the Jazz top 5 defense in his time there. Nick Claxton has now turned himself into like a top 3 rim protector. Now he's going to be bumped down to 4 now that we got Wemby in the league. But he's right there. He's one of the best shot blockers in the league. Plays perimeter as well. And then we see an elite defensive squad there. You add a little bit of depth with Dennis Smith Jr. I mean, Dennis Smith Jr., like with the Hornets, he was a defensive specialist, a guy who really was solid playmaker. And defensively, like he showed his worth on that end. That's what you see a theme here, why they're picking him up. They're going all in on being able to get stops. And there's some other guy in this team who, you know, we thought should be a defensive player of the year. We thought should be one of the best players in basketball, and maybe gets his head on straight.
Who's that then?
This is the year for Ben Simmons. This is the year for Ben Simmons. Like it, and these guys, like y'all mentioned, they're not defensive special. These are two-way players. And McHale is really in for a season to be a good offensive player, because you can't just throw out a bunch of defensive guys and expect them to keep getting stops and not getting buckets. Like you need to score in order to play defense. That's a big part is having an efficient half court offense. You'll see that some of the best defenses in the league are able to score efficiently in the half court so they can get back, set up their defense. And I think what you'll get out of McHale is a little bit of that. If you can put out an average offense, I think that makes it a lot easier on them. And Ben Simmons, man, we keep waiting for him, and maybe he'll never come. But even without him, this team can be an elite defense if he's there. And he is just
back.
He doesn't even have to be back. I think that's the thing. Ben Simmons doesn't even have to be back. Ben Simmons just has to be an elite defender, and don't care about anything else. And that's really it. He just needs to pass the ball, play elite defense. Two things that he's some of the best in his position at. If he's playing, 1 through 4, we know you can't really play traditional center. If he's playing 1 through 4, then defensively, like this could be the 5th best defense in basketball.
Yeah,
that is my hot take.
That's is that your hot take?
That is my hot take.
Okay, so we're gonna get a hot
Top
take
5.
Big board in. You want to lock that in. You have
I'm locking that in.
The Brooklyn Nets as a top 5 defense.
Top 5 defense this year.
I like that. At least we know Ben Simmons is back. I mean, he averaged 9, 5, and 6 during the preseason. He's back. Come on.
That's fine. I don't care about his counting numbers. I just want him to play defense, to switch, to really muck things up in the passing lanes. Like if he's a terror defensively and he's distributing the ball,
he's not
maybe.
That's all I'll say. Like him being back is him like being at the level that he's supposed to be at when he's averaging a near 20-point triple double and as a monster on defense. That's when Ben Simmons will be back. But
we'll see. Yeah.
I like that. Like like you said, even if he's there as a defensive player and a playmaker, that's fine. I think, and in terms of the way you laid it out, like you think about the individuals that they absolutely have the makeup there. It's just that question of the fit and how much minutes each of these guys gets, how much buy-in there is from all of these guys. The Nets are a really interesting one. They're one that you have to feel like could really drop off, or they could find a way to sustain where they finished last year. Obviously, they were the 6th seed last year, right? Like it wouldn't be crazy to think that they finish in that spot again, but it also wouldn't be insane if they were there down battling to get into the play-in either, just in terms of overall makeup of the team and figuring it out with Simmons and with McHale and a few other guys. But I like that. I like that pick. That's an interesting shout. You definitely made a good case in terms of the individuals they've got. They can bring that into the team mold of defense. They can definitely be up there.
Yeah, I'm not questioning buy-in either. I think that these are all high character players. These are guys that, were known on the previous teams for being really good glue guys. So I think if their model for success here is to be, and that's what the organization has said. They want to put out a competitive team. They want a team that Brooklyn can be proud of. And this is a hard-nosed team. And if they can get behind McHale as their star, that's really the kind of the goal of the season, is to be one of the best defensive teams in basketball and give an opportunity for McHale to be the guy, then I think they're cooking.
Yeah, and then they'll get halfway through the season and it'll be going great, and they'll trade everything for Karl Anthony Towns or something stupid like that.
Dude, I'm thinking about that.
Nets do.
Well, it's so funny because it's such an interesting reset that they've gone from rebuild to building assets to gathering a bunch of good guys to then going all in for stars. They did that, didn't work, and now they're kind of back at that point, almost like instant reset. They've got a really promising star-looking player. I think I have more confidence in Mikal Bridges than I did with D'Angelo Russell. But they're kind of at this point again. They have a bunch of talented guys, solid guys, no like superstars, a lot of picks. And who knows? Maybe they can go somewhere with this again.
At least give it two or 3 years this time. That's all I'm asking for. If they have to break it up, then fair enough. But give it just that little bit of extra time. But yeah, first hot take of the season locked in. We're gonna keep track. We obviously make a lot of hot takes on this podcast at certain stages throughout the season. We're gonna get a big board and we're gonna have to lock in hot takes. So we're going to take a look back as the season goes on.
You got to be responsible for these. You can't just
throw
them out.
Yeah,
all
exactly.
Right.
You don't have to lock
you better
in
keep
each
yours
one.
up there then.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to lock in each one, but once you say it's locked in, that goes on the big board, and we'll bring this back up as the season progresses. Now, before we get to the NBA awards, our season predictions, let's just talk quickly about the top seed in each conference. Western Conference, I think the Memphis Grizzlies are going to be the number 1 seed in the West.
Is that not a hot take? Is that a mild take?
This actually wasn't my hot take, but I think they're going to be solid without Ja Morant. Solid, maybe even good without Ja Morant. Their success is built off of defense, and Ja Morant being out isn't going to affect that. Then when Ja hopefully comes back, they can take the step to being potentially elite. They've been up and around the top level over the last few years. I think this might be the year that they go and do it. Not to say that it might only be with like 51, 52 wins, something around that mark. I think that could take the number 1 seed in the West because there is so much talent there.
You're not concerned about we're talking top seed. Yeah. Number 1 seed. All right. Not the Nuggets.
The Utah Jazz.
Not the Nuggets.
I've told you I believe that the Nuggets are not gonna be the top seed. I think you're gonna see a bit of a drop off. How often does the championship team go ahead and sustain the number 1 seed or win more games than they did the year before?
Championship hangover.
Not anything major. They're still gonna be one of the top 3 seeds, I expect. Okay. But I think the Grizzlies are in a position where they can go and take the number 1 seed.
That's fair. That's fair. I wonder how much, who's going to pop on this team, who's going to show up on this team. Because that's interesting for me to see you pick them, because I think losing Tyus Jones offensively is going to be really tough. He really kept this team organized, especially for a team with a lot of chaos offensively. And I think you don't get that from Marcus Smart. You don't get that from Derrick Rose. But who knows? I mean, Zaire Williams, maybe he really takes a big step forward. Luke Kennard, can he actually shoot some threes this year? Do we see a big step from Desmond Bane? Does Desmond Bane take that next step?
I'm relying on that, yeah.
Yeah, are we really undervalued? Because I feel like we view him as that's a borderline all-star. That's a great number 2. That's a guy who's going to compliment Ja for his career, and that's a lot saying for was he like a wasn't the 30th pick. He was 11, 10 pick. I want to see 20. He was late. He was a late pick.
Yeah, he was a pretty late pick. Yeah,
but regardless, a guy who really was not considered at all in the draft. I mean, that's a big thing to consider him.
Yeah,
but maybe he's got more. Maybe he's got more. Do we have healthy?
I believe he's got more. I think so. I think we saw it last year. I think we're gonna see him have that little bit more. I'm looking it up right now about where Desmond Bain was.
That's a mild take. That's not too hot. That's not too hot. I'll take that.
Yeah,
because I think Nuggets are the safe pick.
He was the 30th. He was the 30th pick.
He was the 30th pick. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, if you can bet on all these things, I'm betting on them to be the best defensive team in basketball. So if they're even just a solid offensive team until Ja comes back, and Ja comes back to that, no, I'm with you. I don't have my Grizzlies sweatshirt on right now, but I always believe Grizzlies. I believe in them. I believe Ja will figure things out. I believe this team is destined to make a deep run in the playoffs and are a little bit of development away from being a championship contender. I mean, they're there. They're there.
So you want to believe me, but you're still going with your Nuggets. That's what we're going with.
I want to believe you. I've been wanting to believe you, and I think they'll. It really just depends where this team's head is at, and I think that's why it's so huge that they got Marcus Smart there. It's big that they got a guy like Derrick Rose. These guys are guys that will keep the focus on winning basketball, and I think everyone else on this team has shown to be committed to that too. I'm with you. I'm back in. You got me back in.
There we go.
Grizzlies,
jump back in. I like it. All right. I think we're in agreement in the East as well. Boston Celtics. I think the Celtics win 60 games this year.
Yeah. 60. What's the over under at? I would slam the over. I mean, 60.
I think they're at them in the books were level. I want to say it was like 56, 57 and a half, something like that.
I'm slamming that over. They won 57 games last year. Their offense is gonna be such a terror this season. It's gonna be so hard to defend, especially when you got if you're because you can run so many different lineups with this team. You can run two bigs. Any team in the league that runs a two big lineup, the Boston Celtics are going to destroy. With Al Horford out there, with Kristaps Porzingis out there, like the spacing that they'll provide. Any team that's going to run small, I mean, you are also going to be able to kill them with that two big. Like the fact that they have two incredibly versatile big men really adds more to a team that's already so fierce. So I think it's easy. Celtics are easily Eastern Conference favorites.
Yeah, 100%. My hot take then, outsider, mild, lukewarm. Let's see. Indiana Pacers is going to be a top 6 seed in the East, and Benedict Mathurin is going to average 20 points per game. I'm locking that in.
You're locking that in?
Mm-hmm.
Locking that in. Okay. I mean, they'll be better than the Brooklyn Nets. They'll be better than the New York Knicks. They'll be better than where are they at? 6, 5, 4? Are they gonna be a 6 seed?
It depends where they go. I guess we will see what sort of drop off we see from the 76ers. That's going to be interesting to see. We'll see what sort of growth we see from the Atlanta Hawks. But you have to think they should be aiming to be better than the Heat. They should be aiming to be better than the Nets. I think they should be looking at rivaling the Knicks, to be honest. As much as I think the Knicks maybe just have that bit more experience, that bit more individuals they can rely on. I think as a team with the coach like Rick Carlisle, the growth we're going to see from this team, I think they should definitely be looking at those teams and thinking, yeah, Bucks and Celtics out of reach. Cavs, I think too, are going to be a really good regular season team again. Outside of that, I don't think there's anyone that the Pacers should be fearing or believing that they aren't better than.
Fair. I'll give you that. I think they're a team that could really surprise this season. They could really surprise, especially if Mathurin has a breakout season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm with you. Nice. That's spicy. That's a little spicy.
A little bit of spice.
That's a little spicy. That's a 35-win team going. I mean, that's basically that they're going to win 10 more games ish this season.
I'm smashing the over on there. I think they were only at like 38.5. I think that's they're marked at. Yeah, so I'm smashing the over on that. Yeah. That's for sure. Before we get into our final period, the season predictions, we'll take a little break and have a little bit of fun. We're going to go to a little bit of NBA fast money, and I've broken this down based off of the GM survey that we that took place ahead of the new season. So I've got 5 questions for you, Chris, and the top 5 answers, you'll be given points based on which answers you give. You have to try and get to 100 points. So
am I trying to answer what I think other GMs would say or what I would say?
just say with the first thing that comes into your head. Like, I think it should be similar. It should be similar to what these guys are saying.
To be
think
fair, I did not look at the GM survey, so
don't worry. I won't try and trick you too much with any of the questions. So
okay,
all right, let's play fast money. So, which player is most likely to have a breakout season this year?
Evan Mobley.
If you were starting a franchise today and you could pick one active player to build around, who would you pick?
Anthony Edwards.
Who is the best small forward in the NBA today?
Jason Tatum.
Who is the best head coach in the NBA today?
Greg Popovich.
Which one player signing will have the biggest impact this season?
Say that again?
Which one player signing will have the biggest impact this season?
There's a trade count. Damian Lillard.
Okay. All right. That was your five answers. That's interesting. Let's see how you got on. Most likely player to have a breakout season. You said Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley was not on the list. You got 0 points.
Come on.
Number 1 was Anthony Edwards. Number 2 was Cade Cunningham. If you could start a franchise with one active player to build around, you went for Anthony Edwards. He was the number 5 answer, so that's 7 points. Who is the best small forward in the NBA? You went for Jason Tatum, and that was the number 1 answer, 47 points. Very good. Who is the best head coach in the NBA? You said Greg Popovich. That's only going to get you 7 points. He was the number 4 answer. Spoelstra was way out ahead. 73 points that Spoelstra would have got you. And which one player signing is going to have the biggest impact? You said Damian Lillard, and Damian Lillard is the correct answer. So that means you broke the 100 points and you have succeeded today. Good going.
All right. I did kind of flop on the breakout because breakout season, I guess, is I would pick Cade over definitely. Who's the top 5 there? Was it Cade?
Anthony Edwards, Cade.
I don't like Anthony Edwards. That's
Franz Wagner.
He already broke out.
Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, Tyrese Maxey. That was the top 5.
I feel like Halliburton and Edwards kind of already had their quote unquote breakout. I already see them as like borderline all-stars players, and Cade hasn't done that. Obviously, Banchero hasn't done that. Banchero and Cade are better answers than Mobley, but I feel breakout season for Edwards and for Halliburton is like, oh my God, this is actually a top 10 player. Like that's.
Like a breakout season, I think Edwards can have is matching similar sort of numbers to what Shea did last year.
Yeah, being like, oh, this is an MVP candidate. That's if he breaks out further than what he has, and like Halliburton is like, okay, this is there's not even a question. This is the best point guard in the league. Like, okay, that's fair. I'll take that. I should have said Spo though. I did mess up with that.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. You knew you had that bit of points in the back. You knew you were safe. You knew you were good.
I knew there's an easy answer I should have said, but I was like, all right, Pop can't be wrong. That cannot be the wrong answer.
Yeah, he was in there. I think you only struck 0 points on one answer, which is pretty good going. Yeah, it's good. That's a good start. We'll look at maybe doing that more this year. But let's now break into the fun stuff. The season predictions, the NBA awards going into the 23-24 season. Will we started out with the big one? Will we start out with the most valuable player of the year in 2024? Who have you got?
Jason Tatum.
Bingo. I'm the exact same. Jason Tatum is going to be the best player on the best team in basketball. So how does he not win MVP?
If we keep picking Jason Tatum and Luka Doncic, one of us is going to be right. I mean, they're destined for it. I think the Mavs are a little bit further behind where the Celtics are at, and I think the Celtics are going to have like a tremendous year. They're just going to be so good. We've already talked about them so much, and Tatum is going to be taking that next step.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially, I don't know. Maybe this whole leadership thing talk is a big deal. Maybe that really is going to show on the floor too. Just how he's matured as a leader on this team. Maybe that's part of it. But yeah, I really believe.
Yeah, and I mean, like he basically did it last year. But I'm gonna like he's gonna have like a 39-5 season with probably 1.5 steals, and could be even close to a block a game. Like he's going to be an all rounder for this Celtics team. They're going to be the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, probably in the league. and he's going to be the head of that. Like, I will say that Luka Doncic will be top of the list until he wins the award. So I think if the Mavs are even a top 4 seed in the or in the Western Conference, I think Luka Doncic will win it.
Yeah.
But I would be hesitant to think that they're going to be able to do that. I really want to. I've wanted so badly to say someone random. I really want to tip like Anthony Davis to have a really great year, like he did in 2020. But I just don't. I just can't fully commit and throw myself behind that. But he's a guy I would put out there. I'd say I wanted to put up for the award, but I think Tatum is going to be the guy because he's going to be what the award is meant to be: the most valuable player to the best team.
Yeah, and if you want a dark horse, like a super like crazy take is. You got to pick guys like that. So Luka, he could play as well as he did last year, but if the team does better and top 5, that narrative will be huge. Mm-hmm. I think the guy who has the biggest narrative is Shea, and I'm surprised to not even see him top 5 in betting odds. Is that if the Thunder put things together, if Chet, it was just that missing link for this team to be complete, and they make the playoffs, and Shea just does what he did last year. He probably would win MVP.
Yeah, that's fine.
And that all it takes. I really think he could win MVP if they make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Not even like they could be a 6 seed, 8 seed, and he'd have a pretty good chance of winning, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm a little bit surprised that Jokic is so clearly the betting favorite, because not that he's not going to be one of the best players in the league. Absolutely he is. He is the best player in the league. He's going to put up the numbers. He's going to have the team success. But at the same time, a very limited number of players win back-to-back MVPs, then don't win it one year and win another. The only guys to do that are LeBron, MJ, Bill Russell, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So that's be the kind of company that he'd be keeping if he was to go and win another award. Well, it doesn't happen very often.
It's funny, but I think that this offseason or this postseason is when that solidified that in my brain. It already was a thing, but Jokic is in that company, and it doesn't feel that way right now because it's the present. And when you look at the past, that's look at past records, it's like, oh, that's no way. Like he's there right now, and I think that's very realistic. And it's all about voter fatigue, honestly. Like they got a year off from voting for Jokic, and they're like, all right, fine, we'll give it to him. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. But yeah, I think that you have fun ones down there like Shea. But who knows? Maybe this is Dame's year also. Dame's all the way at 3,600. Shea's at 19 plus 1,900. That surprised me. I thought he'd be at least below 1,000. Those betting odds are pretty interesting for Shea. When you're
I think they've got a small group. I think that they're really relying on, which is probably fair. But I think it's not crazy to think that I'd say Shea probably got a couple of votes last year, so at least he's probably in the thinking.
Yeah.
What about the award that Shea should have won then? The most improved player.
Most improved player.
Who are you looking at there?
The most improved odds are really interesting because there's a few guys here that I could believe in. I think Bridges, Maxey, Cunningham, Jordan Poole, Şengün, I think is kind of an outside shot. But amongst those guys, I think the guy who has a chance to really make the biggest leap in what they've been doing is Cade. Okay. Definitely Cade. So dumb that I didn't pick him when you asked, but I think Cade is the guy who has the biggest impact on a team who could make the biggest leap, because I mean the Pistons just sucked, and they sucked because they didn't have Cade. I mean this team was meant to have Cade. They're supposed to have Cade. Mikal kind of already showed out. He's going to have to do that across an entire season, which I believe in, but I believe in Cade a little bit more, that he's going to bring it to a whole other level this season now that he's had time to get healthy and he's had time to get acclimated. And really, I mean, he's the complete player that they need to actually become a functional NBA team.
Yeah, I think he's going to have that sort of rise, that sort of Larry Markkinen rise that we saw last year. My pick is the guy who I think is going to have more of the Shea Gilgeous-Alexander rise last year, Anthony Edwards. I think I could see him putting up very similar numbers to what Shea did last season. I think he's definitely good enough. He definitely has the ability to put up 30 points per game. He could do 35 and 5. And that'd be like a pretty significant increase, like plus 5.4 in points. Little drop off even in the rebounds and a plus on the assists. I think he's going to improve as defender. I think the Timberwolves are going to be a better team this year, and it's going to be because of him. I would probably say maybe it's a bit too expected that he's going to have this rise, and that maybe might hurt him a little bit. But I'd like to see Jordan Poole in the conversation. As an individual, I think he could really pop and have a really big year this year. Like I was saying on the last pod, this is a guy that the team ain't going to have that success, but as an individual, I think he's really going to pop off this year. And I think him and Cade could be the guys that end up being the top two. But I would say Ant is one that, like a Shea, it'll be too soon to kind of think of him as the MVP, but he might just fall into the most improved category then, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think, it could be kind of like a John Morant situation though, where like he is like, maybe he is a far and away like the MVP looking kind of guy, where he's like almost too good to be most improved player, but you can't give him the MVP. So it's like, all right, we'll just give you most improved. Jordan Poole, he's a guy too that he's big boomer bust, because we haven't seen him outside of a Warriors uniform. We haven't seen him outside of a situation where he's got, the Warriors structure around him. This is really going to be up to him. He's out there in Washington. He's going to have to do this by himself. So that's an interesting one. I'm really curious to see though why Şengün's in there.
He could do it. Like, I mean, like we talk about him being that guy that could really be a similar type of big to what Nikola Jokic is. Obviously, that's a huge, huge jump. But think of him as a guy, if he was averaging 20, 10, 6, 1 and 1 this year, like that's a pretty big jump for him, and it's not beyond the realms of possibility either.
I have questions about it. We'll see what Udoka does with him and how this team plays.
And the league just loves big men these days, you know.
Yeah, I know. I don't really think that they're. I don't know. It's weird. We'll see how they end up playing. Like to see him as the fulcrum of the offense for the Rockets would be a shock to me. I'd be shocked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would be more shocked that happened, even though I know he can do it, even though I know the passing's there, I know he can play make, but I'd be shocked if that's how this offense chooses to operate, with how we've seen Udoka coach the Celtics, for example, as opposed to, we're more so looking at Şengün like, all right, like where in what situations can he do that with the second unit, because he's not getting the opportunity to do it with the first unit. But this is gonna be an interesting race though, MIP.
Yeah, and what about let's just get the easy one out of the way. Rookie of the year, I think we both know. Is it Victor Wembanyama? Is that what his name is? Something like that.
Brandon Miller, Chet Holmgren.
Yeah, it's gonna be Victor Wembanyama. We've seen it all.
If Victor Wembanyama was a year younger and we just had Scoot, Chet, Brandon, and Thompson, Amen Thompson, not his brother. Chet. I would take Scoot. I would take Scoot.
Okay.
I think Scoot's gonna be good. I think Scoot's gonna be good. I'm definitely falling in love.
I'm needing Anthony Simons to really take the mold, for my fantasy team. So I hope that Scoot has to just take the little rookie backseat there, So yeah, we'll hope for that. But yeah, that's interesting. You look at it without Wembanyama, we got Chet versus Scoot there. With that, I think it's going to take something catastrophic, like an injury. Touch wood, that won't happen, but that would be the only area where I'd see Wembanyama losing the award. Then Defensive Player of the Year, I've got Anthony Davis. He was an absolute monster in the playoffs. If he's healthy this year, he's going to be right up there. I think he's going to be the player that the Lakers build their success around as a defensive hub, and I think he's really going to dominate on that end of the floor.
Yeah, I think that's... Yeah, you can never go wrong picking Davis. You can never go wrong picking him because he's going to be in the playoffs. We saw it. I mean, he by himself was the Lakers defense at times. I mean, he's primary reason they're right at the doorstep. But I wonder how much you want to have faith in his health through the regular season. That's fine though. I want to pick someone new. I would love to see Evan Mobley be there. I really would, and I would love to bet on that just because voters love to bet on you guys. And Evan Mobley's, I mean, this is his third season.
He was top 3 last year, so.
Yeah, and I think that if the Cavs are still there and he's continuing to make a narrative for himself on this team, they'd love to vote for a new guy. I just think that probably the safest pick is probably Giannis, especially now you don't have Drew Holiday. That's one thing there. Like, they're going to be one of the best defenses in basketball. We'll see how much he has to fix things up for Dame. But if you're watching tape, I mean, how much more you're gonna have to play a little more defense on Giannis's end with Dame out there in the perimeter. And maybe that's enough to just kind of edge him over Jaren Jackson Jr. Because we know that at the end of the day, it's those two, I think, that are at the top, just in terms of health, with Anthony Davis not being there all the time and Evan Mobley being the newcomer. But I'd love to see Evan Mobley be there. I'll take Evan Mobley.
Okay, Anthony Davis is going to be
stick with
healthy
him.
this year. I've put my faith in Anthony Davis this year. I like that he's even played the majority of the preseason games. That's even a nice thing to see from Anthony Davis, that he obviously is healthy. They want to give. He's not playing the proper minutes and all that, but still, even that little smidge is a nice thing to see. I backed him in my fantasy team, and I'm backing him for Defensive Player of the Year. And hopefully he's at a level where he's in the conversation for MVP as well, because I believe that he can get to that level. He's healthy and he's on the floor. He can challenge Giannis for the best two-way player in the league. I genuinely believe that he has that ceiling. Coach of the year. You got
I'm just laughing because I feel like we take whatever we can get for Anthony Davis. Like we see him play for a little bit in the preseason. We're like, oh, maybe he will be healthy, but he wasn't too bad last season, and in terms of health, and that is a comforting sign. Because then on the other end, you got like Chris Middleton not even playing preseason, and everyone's asking questions. So maybe we'll think positively on the other end. The Coach of the Year, this one is interesting. Who do you have picked for your Coach of the Year?
I am going to change my pick. What I have written down right here is Joe Mazzulla.
Cold feet on Joe Mazzulla.
Celtics.
Don't do it.
Because they're going to have the best record, and I do believe that. But I'm going to switch it and jump into my hot take, and I'm going to back Rick Carlisle to win the award with the rise of the Pacers.
Wow. Okay. That's fair. That's 100% fair, because if they are going to reach the playoffs, if they're going to be a top 6 seed, is this going on your big board too? Just put it.
I feel like they're lumped together. You know, they're kind of the same. They're similar sort of thing. If one happens, the other can happen. You know, that sort of way.
That's fair. I won't give you half credit or something if you get one right and the other wrong. But no, for sure. If the Pacers are winning 10 more games than they did last season, and it's really player development, it's really, the system that's fit around them. We've seen that they've put out such a great offense, and like Rick Carlisle is known for producing elite offenses. He's known for what he does there on that end of the floor. And if they're making the playoffs, that's 100%. I back that. I back that.
And I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying that he never won it before.
We got to fact check that.
I'll get on to Google there.
There's a lot of guys here. Taylor Jenkins won one before.
Did he not win it a couple of years ago?
I think he won it when Ja won. And newcomers too. Adrian Griffin. Does Adrian Griffin get bonus points for?
I was incorrect. He was NBA Coach of the Year in 2002.
I was going to say he's been around for a while, because I was thinking there's just too many. There were too many good Mavs teams back then for him not to win one.
No, he did it with the Pistons. 2002 with the Pistons.
Oh, really?
That's as far
back. I'm barely.
You forget he's been around for so long. It's nuts, isn't it? Yeah, he coached the Pistons from 2001 to 2003. Then he left and they win a title.
Yeah, I think they would still give it to him though. They'd still give it to him. That's really ironic actually. So he left the Pistons and they won the championship that year. That's true. Mm-hmm. And Dwayne Casey wins the championship.
Jenkins had not won it, so. That's another one. Like I said, I jumped into my Pacers thing, but at the same time, I'm there with the Grizzlies saying they're going to be another 1 seed. So I guess Taylor Jenkins could be a shout too.
Yeah, Dwayne Casey, he coach of the year, right, in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And then gets fired, and they win a championship. He goes to the Pistons. History repeats itself in weird ways. But I got to go with Mazzulla. It's his second year. I think Mazzulla's gotten so much flack last season. He was really very, very everyone was hypercritical of him in his first year, questioning about if he can handle the pressure of the playoffs, questioning, lineups, questioning timeouts. And I think that microscope is still going to be on him this season. And if that has improved, I think there's a lot of room for improvement in what he does for this team. And I think that if the Celtics are going to be the best team in basketball, if they're going to put out an even better product, I think he's going to be the beneficiary of that. He just needs to be a solid captain of a ship that's going to make it all the way.
Yeah,
I think he's the easiest pick.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair. But there's definitely going to be a few guys that have their hat in the ring there. But you often feel that the award can almost favor guys that finish somewhere in like the 4 or 5 seats. So I think like the likes of a Carlisle might have a bit of an edge there. Maybe not because he's older and he's won it before, but the fact that they're going to take that rise that maybe not everyone expected, that kind of always like puts favor on those coaches that are able to do that. What about Clutch Player of the Year? De'Aaron Fox won the first award last year. I'm leaning towards putting Joel Embiid up for this as my pick.
Joel Embiid.
Because I feel the 76ers are going to be in a lot of tighter games this year. He's going to be he's going to be relied on more in the clutch to deliver. There's going to be a heavy weight in the shoulders this year to really step up in those moments. So I'm leaning towards him, but I also think Luka Doncic is going to be right up there as well as a clutch performer and similar sort of mold with the Mavericks. Because of their lack of defense and their reliance on offense, they're going to be in close games, and you're hoping that a guy like Luka can provide the edge for you.
You don't want to bet on your boy Brunson?
No, because the ball's not always going to be in his hands. It'll be with Randall sometimes too.
That's fair. I had to go with Luka. I feel like Luka's got to win something this year. I got to pick Luka for something.
Yeah. I'll switch up. I'm thinking that the same, but because you said Luka, I'll go with Joel Embiid.
I mean, Luka really is going to be in so many. That's what it comes down to. What teams are going to be in the tightest games, and we don't know if that defense is actually going to get better. So between Luka and Kyrie, I think
it's likely where the Kings were as well. Because their defense was nothing. That's why they ended up in the clutch, and that's why they relied on Fox last year.
Exactly. So I'm good with that. We won't see Fox win two in a row. But what if fatigue's a thing? It'll be too close for them to pick him again, and Luka's gonna make his name known again this year.
Yeah, Luka's got to win an award. He can't just be first team All NBA again. They got to give him something. If it's not the MVP, I think he's looking at a clutch player. Final question then, an interesting one. Who will there be a first team All NBA newbie this year? We've had it in 3 of the last 4 years. There's been a first timer on the first team All NBA. Will there be one this year? And if so, who will it be?
First team or just in general?
First team.
I'll
give you my pick. I think Anthony Edwards will take Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's spot on the first team All NBA this year.
Because I want to say, I want to say Anthony Edwards, and that feels like the right pick, and that's a lot of it's going to come down to, whether or not you see the Timberwolves have success, but then is he just going to completely blow that out of the water? Is he going to do even better than Shai? He's probably you'd have to take Shai's place, right, as a guard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If it's going to be anybody, that's the dead on answer. It's going to be Anthony Edwards, because I don't think anyone is close in terms of replacing. No one's replacing Embiid. No one's replacing.
Yeah, Jokic can replace Embiid, no?
But he's been there before.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, I'm with you. Yeah.
Been there before. So no one's gonna replace those two. No one's replacing Giannis. No one's replacing. I think Luka and Tatum. But Shai might. Luka maybe. Maybe Luka is replaced by Anthony Edwards there.
Maybe
things don't go as we think. But no, that's definitely the answer.
Yeah,
and I think the common theme of this whole podcast is Anthony Edwards is in for a big year, and are we dead wrong about the Timberwolves? You have a lot of faith in that. I like it though.
Gotta have faith. Gotta have faith in the teams you want to believe in, and the guys that you want to believe in. But that wraps it up. That's the season begins Tuesday. Yeah. Really exciting to get back to proper basketball. Let's see how things flesh out. Be plenty more to talk about. But before we finish up the pod, I do have a top 5 list going into the new season. And I'm looking at the 5 players with the most to prove in the NBA this year.
The 5 players we got to watch, we got to pay attention to, we got to see where they're at.
Pressure on their shoulders to deliver this year. Number 5, Kyrie Irving. I think it's time for him to show that he's committed to basketball. Basketball, his focus, being a great two guy on a competitive team is his focus. That's something he's got to show this year. 4, I've got Ben Simmons. All I'm hearing through the preseason, the offseason, this is his team. He's saying, I'm back. Okay, show me for the whole year. Show me that you're really back. Don't just be a good defensive player who racks up assists. Be a two-way threat that leads this Nets team to a top 5 defense, maybe, huh? At number 3, I've got Trae Young. Can he get back to top? Can he be a legit superstar in this league? Can he buy into the new system in Atlanta and lead this team to success that the Hawks believe that he should have done already? At number 2, we got Luka. They didn't make the playoffs last year. There's pressure on him to deliver. He's a guy that the whole pressure of the team's success is on his shoulders. He's got to get this Mavs team back into the playoffs and back winning playoff series. There's a lot of pressure on Luka. And then number 1, obviously, Zion Williamson. Can he stay healthy? All we ever hear is, if Zion Wilson is healthy, the New Orleans Pelicans are going to be one of the best teams in the NBA. Let us see it, Zion. Please stay healthy. We saw that the other day, that apparently the team had to call him and let him know that he wasn't doing enough as the leader of this team, that he needed to do more. Let's see if that's something that he takes into account and really starts to deliver on. But yeah, Zion, just be healthy. Please be healthy. Not just for my fantasy team, but for the NBA. Let's see if you're really that guy, if you can really change everything for this Pelicans team. It's about time we got to see it.
Yeah. That's 100% true. All these guys this is opportunity for redemption, opportunity for just more trouble. I feel like these are names that we would have had last year too, honestly. Yeah. So it's episode 2 of Prove It year for these guys. And I just need to make the comment that Anthony Davis and Zion Williamson, you're really betting on health there this season. So good luck with those 2 on your team.
Yeah, but I've made big bets on health. We're hoping and praying for the best. I'm going to believe in my guys. They're going to do it this year. They know I've drafted them. They want to do it for me. I can feel it. I feel it down in my plums.
If you had to finish out talking about what is the one team that has the most approved this season, the one team.
Timberwolves. T-Wolves, they went all in to get that Rudy Gobert, and look what it did for them. They still seem to believe that it can work with Cat and Gobert. Okay, let's see.
Yeah. I have an interesting take on it. I think that in terms of proving something in a historical context, the Kings, you just had one of the best seasons, but one of the best offensive seasons ever. Statistically, the best offensive season ever. And people are basically, not really paying attention to it. It's whatever. And they're going to be quickly forgotten if that's all they had. Mm-hmm. So do they have another season of success in them? I think they have a lot to prove to themselves that, and as a city, as an organization, as a fan, you get one taste of it. Is that real? Are they going to keep being an elite team in the West? Because that hasn't happened in 20 years.
Yeah.
Can they do it again? So that's what I'm looking at. Are they going to be an exciting team again, or is this just going to kind of go downhill from there?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a great pick. There is definitely pressure on the Kings, and there's pressure on the coach and the team as a whole to figure it out a bit more on the defensive end, sustain that offensive level, and obviously what they did last year. Now that the marker is on them to go and actually win a playoff series. They had that great year. They finally got back in the playoffs. They broke the hoodoo. Was it just a once-off? Is this sustainable? I think that's a good show. They're going to be interesting to watch. So are so many teams in the league this year. Obviously, kicks off Tuesday. We got Lakers against the Nuggets, a repeat of the Western Conference Finals. Then we got the Warriors against the Suns. I'm just getting really excited to see these teams in full flow, see what way they work. We'll be back next week to be talking about what we've seen from the first few games, probably overreacting to some things that we've seen off the first few games. But that's what you have to do. That's what makes it fun. We're getting back to basketball. We're out of the doldrums of the off season. There's probably still some trades to go down with James Harden. Let's see what goes on there. Probably some teams to drop off, some teams that are going to surprise. It all gets started next week. But that's it for this episode. My thanks to Chris for joining me, and thank you all so much for listening. Remember, you like what you're hearing? We are everywhere at Coast to Coast NBA. And most importantly, remember, take every shot and love every moment.
Peace.